Welcome to the Assembly Judiciary Committee. In order for us to complete our agenda and allow everyone equal time, the rules for witness testimony are that each side will be allowed 2 main witnesses. Witnesses will have approximately 2 minutes to testify in support of or opposition to the bill. Additional witnesses should state only their names, organization, if any, and their position on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. AI technology provides new opportunities to grow our economy and when used properly can improve efficiencies in everyday lives and industries. However, with this technology, new concerns have been raised. One of the most significant issues that has been raised surrounding AI is transparency of the content that is produced. Specifically, AI technologies have been evolving rapidly, and these technologies have been developed to make it easier for images, audio, and video to be created, manipulated, and edited. Bad actors can use AI technology to create scams and fraudulent impersonations, disseminating harmful content of women and children, and spread disinformation and deepfakes, which impacts public trust in information. There have been a number of bills from previous sessions that have aimed to address some of the transparency concerns raised by AI, and AB 853 would build upon the work of previous legislation by requiring more transparency of content on large online platforms and capture devices. Specifically, AB 853 would require large online platforms to retain provenance data that is provided or posted on the platform and make that information available to users, and require capture devices to offer the ability to include provenance data in content. Testifying in support, I believe, yes, who just arrived, are sponsors of the bill from Cited, Ken Wang and David Evan Harris.
Thank you.
It's on, hopefully. Good morning, Chair and members. My name is Ken Wang, and I'm the Senior Policy Advisor for the California Initiative for Technology and Democracy, a project of California Common Cause. We're proud to sponsor AB 853, which would extend the provenance requirements under the SB 942, the California AI Transparency Act, to large online platforms and capture devices. Cited was established to seek state-level solutions to the threats that disinformation, AI, and other emerging technologies pose to our democracy through a cross-disciplinary approach advised by leaders from civil rights and civic engagement, law and public policy, industry and tech, and more. It fights for a digital democracy that works for all. To that end, Cited is proud to sponsor AB 853, which would add important tools to our arsenal to help stem the tide of online disinformation. This bill builds on important foundations laid by SB 942 by strengthening the law's existing provenance requirements through extending it to recording devices capturing authentic content. This bill also increases the utility of provenance information by requiring large online platforms to make provenance available to access by users. We hope these urgent policy interventions will help rebuild trust in our information ecosystem. Given the absence of meaningful federal policy, California must continue to lead on this critical issue, and we'd like to thank Assemblymember Wicks for your continued leadership. And with that, I will turn it over to Cited's technical advisor, David Harris, to walk through the technical aspects of the bill.
Thank you.
Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, it's an honor to speak with you here today in strong support of AB 853, a bill that will help Californians differentiate between authentic and AI-generated content online. My name is David Evan Harris, and I'm here in my capacity as Senior Policy Advisor to Cited. I also am a Chancellor's Public Scholar at UC Berkeley and a Senior Advisor for AI and Elections to the Brennan Center for Justice at NYU Law School. I've advised the White House, Congress, EU, UN, and NATO on AI. I also previously worked at Facebook and then Meta from 2018 to 2023 as a research manager on the civic integrity and responsible AI teams. A lot has changed in the years since I last testified before this committee about provenance. Sharing of AI-generated content on social media platforms has risen. Barriers to producing realistic imagery decrease every month. Realistic, real-time AI-generated audio and video are here. Nonetheless, the Coalition for Content Provenance and Authenticity, the most important group developing provenance tools, has continued to improve upon its technology, strengthening its resilience against bad actors. Integration of provenance tech into cameras, another crucial requirement of the bill, has also increased. Leica, Sony, Canon, Nikon, and Fujifilm now support C2PA technology. Major online platforms including Meta, TikTok, Amazon, and LinkedIn also now nominally support C2PA. But alas, big tech companies are still failing to deliver on promises they've made in voluntary commitments at the White House and the Munich Security Conference to meaningfully implement provenance technology. Without legislation like AB 853, we absolutely cannot count on tech companies to follow through on their voluntary commitments to implement provenance tech. Please support AB 53 to protect women and children from the threat of non-consensual intimate imagery, to protect the elderly from scams, and to protect the integrity of our information environment and our democracy.
Thank you.
I want to thank the author for bringing this bill. This is not one of the marquee bills out there, but I think it's actually one of the more important ones. And so I want to thank you for bringing it. I'll be supporting it today and would love to be added as a co-author.
Thank you.
Madam Vice Chair?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And you brought the similar bill last year.
Yes.
I agree. It's going to be important. I'm concerned that we're quite not there yet. Could you just edify for me? I've heard provenance data. We know what provenance means, but how do you actually see it visually? What would happen inside a camera or computer or whatever? What would that look like?
Yeah, in its most basic form, what we're trying to do here is for a user to understand what is real and what is fake, and requirements both to the hardware, but also the distribution platforms to be able to ensure that. I'd love to turn over to my technical witness for him to describe what that actually looks like.
Yeah, thank you so much for that excellent question, Assemblymember Dixon. There are multiple types of provenance data that loosely fall into a couple of categories. One you can think of as digital signatures. And what this bill would require is that you not be forced to, but have the option to on your phone, when you take a picture or record a video or audio, that you get the option to click a button that says, I want to sign this. And that signature could say that you took that picture, that it was recorded on a certain date. If you opt in, you could say, this is where I took it. And that would give you the ability to prove and to say to other people that that's your piece of authentic
Isn't that
content.
already on our iPhones?
So the interesting thing is that information, when you upload it to social media platforms, often gets stripped away.
Oh.
And the part of what this bill does is require the social media platforms not only keep that information, but create a label that's visible to everyone who sees that on social media, that where you can click and you can see, it's probably the label says something like authentic image, then you click on it and you can see all the details of it. And there's a similar process for generating a label that a social media platform would show for AI-generated images. And that wouldn't rely on, it could rely on a signature if you're an artist that uses AI to create your work. You could sign it, but it could also be something that simply says this was AI-generated by OpenAI or by Google Gemini, and allow you again to click on that and get more information about what system generated it, when, the details of the version.
Well, I think actually I support that latter part, that require AI-generated images, content to be identified. It's like branding that as this has been generated. I think that's an excellent idea. However, personal information, I actually am concerned about. I mean, we all see that on our images. It says, where was it taken? Stamford, Connecticut. Well, do I want people to know that I was in Connecticut or where I was? It's a picture of Thanksgiving dinner or something. I would like that information not to be released, and I think I can control that now, right?
Yeah, you can control that now.
So how can you segregate it, I guess is my question.
So the way we've designed this is that it is opt-in. So the default, when you get a new phone, that information is not shared with anyone. You have to click on something to say that you want that to be there.
Okay, but on the AI,
it is not opt-in. On the AI, it's automatically there.
Okay, but when do the two intersect?
If you're in your news feed on Facebook or Instagram or X, you might see an AI-generated image followed by
I'd like to know that. All right.
Yeah. And there would also be a label that says no provenance information available to tell you that that's not there. So you might see in your newsfeed 3 different types of labels, one for authentic, one for synthetic, and those words are up to the companies to choose, and one for not available.
Okay, there's still work to be done, but I appreciate the direction you're going in.
Yeah, part of the reason why this is not over-specified is the feedback that we got from our opposition last year, that they didn't want us to be overly prescriptive in this legislation. So we're doing our best not to single out a particular approach, specific language, or a specific standard, but create a general set of guidelines.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, well, we're going to call, thank you, Assemblymember Wicks, always here for the team, but I'll go first. Yeah. Okay, we're going to call the Assemblymember Privacy and Consumer Protection Committee hearing to order. We have 14 bills on the agenda today. On to your next bill, Assemblymember Wicks, which is AB 853.
It's going to sound a little familiar because we had this last year. died a mysterious death. So we're bringing it back.
Yes,
Well,
Madam Vice Chair.
I'm just going to ask a question.
Yep.
Could, if the platforms are working towards the solution, could you estimate when we'll be there?
I cannot, right? I think it's a very nuanced conversation from a lot of different platforms, a lot of different interests. And, I think, not to sound sort of referring to previous conversations, right? I think I've heard a lot today about how we're looking for companies to lead, right? And interjecting legislation could potentially halt that collaborative approach. Companies that are afraid of some sort of liability might scramble to create compliance and sort of potentially disrupt interoperability standards. And so I think currently allowing this collaborative approach to continue is probably the correct approach moving forward.
I appreciate your response. It's just, we're going to be here again. It's either going to be regulated, mandated, prescribed, or help come up with a solution. I mean, you have two options. Either accelerate your development of your technology platform and share that. If it's collaborative, that's fantastic. There's a desire here for the second or third year in a row to determine the authenticity of something, and so people can discern what is AI or what is original content. And it's becoming, as the author said, it's just becoming more pervasive, and we see it every day. It's almost becoming frightening. So we're left with no choice. I mean, I'm an anti-regulation type person. I think people should just do the right thing, and hopefully we have fewer laws and regulations. But help us help you. So that's where I am right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair.